And this meeting will be posted on the City of Franklin's website in the next 3 or 4 days, once we get it back over to the city and once their techs are able to upload it to the website. So if there's somebody who's missed this meeting tonight but still wants to see it, you can direct them to the city's website under neighborhood meetings, and you'll be able to find a link there that will connect you to what you're seeing tonight. Want to notice a couple of people that are in the room or in the meeting with us now. Randy Arnold and John Swift are with Arnold Homes and Province Builders. They are proposing a joint venture to develop this property that is off of Clovercroft. And Randy, do you mind unmuting yourself? I want you to kind of tell everyone a little bit about your background and your history and your vision for what you're looking at on this property.
Yeah, local builder developer out of Brentwood, Tennessee. Looking to do this joint venture with John Swift, which is Province Builders. We are looking to do 77 single family units on this property on Clovercroft. Looking to do some custom, semi-custom prop homes with very high-end finishes to keep the value of this area that's been growing for many years. About the development, there's exterior of the property that wraps around of the property. Interior, which is going to be larger products, and then the interior will be alley entry. A little bit more about myself is, been building homes ever since college, 2 years interns with Pulte Homes, coming from the starter home communities all the way up through the custom home building to starting my own ever since 2007. Done a lot of products, well over 300, 400 homes, maybe more, lost count, don't really keep count. I mean, we have a little over 35 on the ground right now, including multifamily and single family. So very capable of doing development like this in the past. Our biggest years from 2010 to 2014, we kind of averaged of starting about 40 to 50 homes a year. So, this is, and joining with John, this would be a development right up our alley of what we've done in the past and what we're currently doing now.
Thank you, Randy. John, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure the video's here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit about.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit about myself to add on to what Randy said. I'm John Swift. I have been in the construction business since 2003, 2004. I started the company Province Builders that I currently own in 2005. Much as Randy said, started out building starter homes in North Nashville, Germantown, Salemtown areas that touched the downtown core, and eventually migrated out to more of the affluent Nashville neighborhoods as well as Brentwood, whether it's Green Hills, Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Belmead, 12 South areas, all of those homes, all of those areas that we currently have homes going in today. We've done that since 2000, these areas, probably since 2008 or 9 that we've been working in those areas. Along the way, as I think we mentioned at the last meeting, our background has a wide variety of housing types that we've built, unit count anywhere from, 2-unit duplex deals or HPR deals, horizontal property regime, to 26 at a time on one particular site. But as far as our workload, typically, and this is all stuff that you can pull per permits. I mean, we historically build at least 30, 35 doors a year. Our heaviest years, we were probably building 65 doors a year. And that was around the 2015, 2016 years. But currently, our main housing type right now is about a 6,000 square foot semi-custom home. And the only reason I say semi-custom is because we don't try to sell or have customers come in on the front end just by choice. But all the features and finishes are what you would expect in homes that are $3 million and north of that price point. So with this product, we're not looking to come in and do a $3 million price point, but to demonstrate what our capabilities are. Again, we've got the product type that I've described on the ground and a wide array of housing types on the ground. So our background also includes grading utilities. We've done highway work for Rogers Group, for LoJack. We've done utility work for a lot of the bigger plumbing companies. When they didn't have equipment, we did that for them. For electrical companies, for Stansel Electric, we've done work for them. They've subbed out to us. So our background encompasses a wide array of construction disciplines. Not to mention from a execution standpoint, and why relationships or JV or joint venture opportunities like Randy and I are undertaking. You also utilize resources, and whether or not we come in, and which we're more than capable of doing individually, but certainly together. You come in, and in a lot of cases, we may choose to put the infrastructure in. We may sub it out to a Division II or whoever it may be, but that speaks to how we choose to execute from a business perspective rather than individuals. I would say the last thing I'll say about the capabilities, it's rare that, a developer come in and say, I want to do 1,600 homes. And he says, here's a exact replica of what I did last year with 1,600. So in this case, it's the overall experience and background, as well as joining resources. So 77 homes, not to say that, it's something that certainly anything could go wrong with it, but our background, I think we're more than equipped and experienced to undertake a venture to this magnitude.
That's great, John. Thank you. And these homes and what we're looking at here on the screen now, the homes you're proposing will not be this large in scale and mass. They'll be smaller, but the finishes are probably representative of what you're looking to do for the homes in this neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
So I'll walk you through the location and the policies that the city of Franklin has established for this property. This is Oxford Glen Drive here on the left, and Clovercroft Road going east-west along the southern boundary of the property. This property has been identified through Envision Franklin as suitable for mixed residential policy. Under mixed residential policy, supported building types include single-family detached residential, duplex homes, townhouses, and multiplex 4-unit condo buildings. Through this joint venture, Randy and John are proposing just single-family residential detached homes. There are a total of 77 homes proposed in the neighborhood. 39 of those will be the alley loaded, accessed from the rear. The garage will be located at the rear, located off the alley. And those are shown on these 2 interior blocks here. And then the larger lots are located along the outside edges. Along this edge here, which is the western property boundary, there's an existing tree line that runs to about right here. And Randy and John would like to finish that evergreen tree line all the way along the property boundary to create a greater sense of privacy along there. We'd also like to preserve and protect those that have already become established along that western boundary. along this edge, the majority of the homes along this edge are on lots that are approximately 55 feet in width. The proposed lots are 65 feet in width, so a little bit wider. And you can see the difference in scale on this plan. There is a 25-foot landscape open space area that runs along the side of the McKay's Mill overall boundary on their side. And we're going to be replicating and repeating that same open space area on our side. So just for consistency, from one development area to the next. So this is a character image of those homes that will be accessed off of the street that will be along that western property boundary edge. So along this edge over here. All of the lots, the minimum lot size is 65 feet. Some of these lots are actually wider than that. You can see as we get into this cul-de-sac area here at the end that the lot sizes are larger. All of the homes are required to have garages that are recessed back 20 feet from the front elevation, the front facade of the home. So that'll be consistent for all of these lots along the boundary edge of the development. The alley loaded homes architecturally will be in keeping with that same kind of architectural style, a little bit more modern, a little bit more contemporary in character, but still built with materials that are timeless. We are proposing to coordinate with the McKay's Mill Homeowners Association to obtain a pedestrian connection at the end of this cul-de-sac here that would connect over to the commercial district in McKay's Mill and connect to Publix. This would allow for people to walk down the street, buy their groceries and walk home, walk their dog or walk their cat to the vet. So just to make this area a little bit more convenient for this neighborhood. We're also proposing a neighborhood park at the intersection of Clovercroft Road and Oxford Glen, and this neighborhood park would have pedestrian access and walking paths and walking trails. It would have benches to take a break if you need one. So what we're proposing is a little neighborhood that would be tucked away behind the existing trees. And this view that you're seeing along Clovercroft Road today would be maintained in a different way. The yard would be mowed, the grass would be mowed. You'd be able to go out and kick a soccer ball or throw a Frisbee. But this look, what you're seeing today, would be preserved in perpetuity on this corner. This is an area that is along Oxford Glen Drive that we have been discussing with the Single Family Homeowners Association of McKay's Mill about purchasing so that it could be maintained by the new development. And so that it would provide access out to Oxford Glen Drive. The existing drive that is used by the home today would be our emergency egress path for any event that might need to be accessed by fire vehicles or emergency vehicles in the future. So we are currently working with city staff on our traffic study. Traffic study is being prepared now and will be turned in to city staff for the engineering department for their review. We are anticipating a planning commission meeting on October the 27th. And if you received an invitation to this meeting tonight, it is because you live within 500 feet of the boundary of this development. We worked with the HOAs to make sure that notice was posted through their website and their social media as well. So glad you were able to attend with us. We're going to open this up to questions now. And there are two ways you can ask questions. One is that you can type in on the chat as well as just simply unmute yourself to ask a question. So this is very informal, and we will stay until we get every question answered if we possibly can. So. Alderman Berger wanted me to point out that the park area is not gated. It is accessible to the community. So thank you, Alderman Berger.
I have a question.
Yes, please, Tim.
Actually, I have several questions, but
Okay.
I wanted to find out exactly how many acres are you putting these 77 homes on, and how much of the acreage is unbuildable?
Sure. Randy, I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
total acreage of the property just escaped my brain. Do you have it
Yeah,
on?
we're 30 acres.
Okay.
And I believe we're around the, 65, 70% of that of buildable area and open space will be the rest.
Right. The only part of the property that's not buildable is where the power line comes across the park right through here. So that portion of the property is not buildable, but we're setting that area in open space. What you're looking at here on the screen is about 2.7 homes per acre. We measured and added up the number of homes that are off of Dunrobin Drive. And this little area right here of McKay's Mill is at 3.5 homes per acre. So just to kind of give a little bit of comparison between these two areas.
Okay, the other question I have for you is you made a statement that the play area or that area is not going to be gated. And so you're going to have children playing in there with soccer balls, whatever. And that's going to be on the corner of Clovercroft and Oxford Glen.
We'd like to do an equestrian style horse fence around the boundaries of the property just to kind of create an edge, but it's not going to be gated off where people can't use it.
Yeah, it would be more of a landscaping buffer type of feel, which is going to create a little bit of a first of all, a great feel, and then second of all, a little bit of a safe zone as well.
Well, I just get nervous because living across the street from current soccer fields, kids running across when the balls get kicked over the fence. You know, I can just see one hitting a car. I can see a kid getting hit, going after a ball, a toddler getting loose. You know, that's a very, very busy corner. And having a play area on that corner, to me, is a little bit reckless.
Yeah, we were going to address that that topic, which has come up before with the landscaping design, because that's really important for us as well, especially for the homeowners that's in the community, to make sure we have a really good buffer, whether that's green giants. We create, I don't know if you ever seen kind of at the beach, the sand dunes, that type of hill that creates with the landscaping coming up and down. So that's going to create boundaries there. That's going to create a safe zone with the landscaping, that up and down feel. That's going to kind of wrap around with the landscaping. So we're definitely aware of that, and I appreciate you bringing that up too.
Yeah, and this area right here is really meant more as the multi-purpose field, whereas this area here is meant more for the pedestrians that are walking along the walking path. So Jamie, you're right. It wouldn't be a good idea to have that soccer play right on the corner of Clovercroft and Oxford Glen. And we do see this as more of a casual area. It's not going to be set up necessarily for, full-time soccer.
Okay.
But thank you for those comments. That's great.
Hello, may I add a question here?
Absolutely.
Hi, this is Laura Sylvester. I saw in the chat about traffic, and I think I heard correctly that you guys are pending a traffic study to come out next month. We'll have additional information on that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So comment to go with the questions on traffic. So first of all, Randy and John, thanks so much for coming on today and providing us information about your proposals. It sounds really great. I am very interested in the traffic. I am a homeowner on Oxford Glen, just a couple of lots down from the proposed ingress egress for this new neighborhood. And living here for 4+ years, I can tell that when I come out onto Oxford Glen, it's a treacherous little situation already. There's a lot of speeding traffic, and the prospect of some 78, I think you said, new homes coming on and piling onto that roadway is something that obviously I want to make sure is very intentional and well thought out. There's a little bit of a hill in the area. It looks like you guys are talking about having these new neighbors come out kind of at the apex of that hill.
Mhm.
So maybe they'll have a better line of sight than we do coming across on Dunrobin and Province Circle there. But on the traffic, my question though is, with this emergency access and then this primary interest, has there been any discussion about the possibility of having a one-way entrance and another as a one-way exit to lessen the volume of the traffic in and out, and the dangerousness, if you will, of those needing to make left turns on what are otherwise pretty busy roadways, Oxford Glen and Clovercroft, especially given their proximity to the existing red light at Clovercroft and Oxford Glen, and then the stop sign situation further up Oxford Glen on Dunrobin and Province as they cross.
Yeah, you're making very good points. The first point is we do have a little bit of data back from it's not completely a full done traffic study, but we have some minor readings that is showing during apex hours, morning apex hours, evening apex hours, during school times, that we're not adding barely a car or two or a few cars is for the traffic for this count. Again, 77 homes is not a lot comparison to a lot of bigger neighborhoods and from that category. But we understand that obviously Franklin and this McKay's Mill, Oxford Glen, from a understanding of traffic, the traffic study is needed. The second point is the apex. That was part of the decision to put it as somewhat in that location, and which led to your last comment. The reason there was a little bit stipulations with a traffic light being at Clovercroft and Oxford Glen. The measurement of the property that we have on Clovercroft is not enough linear footage to put an exit there. So because of the Franklin requirements, that was the best location for Oxford Glen because of the light there, and there's certain minimum distance the exits can be from your arterial roads versus non-arterial roads. So that's kind of a little bit of our first initial design. We wanted to come off Clovercroft, but with the Franklin stipulations, we kind of are kind of forced to kind of come off of Oxford Glen, if that makes any sense.
Sure. No, I totally understand that. And I know like just a teeny bit about traffic studies. So just enough to ask the difficult questions. And yeah, I think my concern, just to make sure I'm clear, the ingress and egress for these new families, these 78 houses coming in and out, just making sure that they have safe entry and exit, because like I said, there's, and Alderman, I know you're well familiar. I mean, there's a lot of speed that happens on Oxford Glen, and it is definitely a treacherous little area there, because a lot of people use that as a throughway coming from, I think, from like Murfreesboro Road. And I think that's just, it's just an interesting proposition. So just to keep that in mind. So that was my comment. And if you don't mind, guys, I have one more question. I'm sorry if I missed it. I joined a little bit late, but did you say what the price point of the houses is supposed to be, or price per square foot?
We didn't mention that, but that's a good point to bring up. We're looking at starting in the 9s upwards to over 1.4 to 1.4 and up, depending on the timing market. But starting in the 900s to over $1 million for the products that's going in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just to make another, go ahead, John, go ahead.
I wanted to add before she got off, just so she could get a little bit more clarity on the traffic. Greg, can you share with her the metric?
Yeah, I sure can.
The impact that was given for per hour, how many cars that would add?
Yeah, so the only information I have right now from our traffic study talks about the roundabout here at Liberty and Oxford Glen, and then Clovercroft Road and Oxford Glen Drive. At Liberty Pike, we're looking at a 1.5% increase in the vehicle trips that are generated at this intersection. And for our peak hour, and let me describe peak hour so you understand that. Peak hour does not necessarily mean from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning. It is that 60-minute period of time based upon the traffic counts at the intersection that reaches the highest volume. So it could be from 6:15 in the morning to 7:15. I'm just making that up. But during that peak hour, there's an increase of 17 vehicular trips over the entire hour. Here at the intersection of Oxford Glen and Clovercroft Road, there's an increase of 4.1% of the generated traffic. And we're looking at approximately 42 vehicular trips added over the entire hour, so just under 1 per minute. And we believe that once I-65, once Highway 96 is completed with construction, that will be a greater draw for traffic to get to I-65 than going north.
And when a lot of people say, oh, okay, what are those percentages? Those are in other traffic studies that are bad, good, or worse. Those are good numbers for percentage wise.
Right.
When you look at that as well. And another quick point on that brought up with a question on McKay's Mill, which I think is very important. We're looking to use the construction entrance for most of the which is the emergency during construction. So we're wanting to limit the traffic during construction off Oxford Glen as well. So that connection. So just as a point, we're looking to, because that's no stipulation with Franklin. So we're looking to use that emergency, which is the current driveway, for most of the construction, rather than coming off Oxford Glen too.
See, we've got a question on chat. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said good info. Thank you.
Okay, sure. We have a question about limiting traffic lights for neighbors that are directly across the street from the access point. I want to come down to this last slide right here. One thing that you'll note here, we've got the 2 exiting lanes which generate lights from vehicles, and we have that directly centered on the middle of these 2 homes to really reduce the headlight traffic for these 2 houses here. We're happy to look at that in more detail as we get further along in the process, but right now this is kind of a high level plan But really making sure that we have the geometries right, that those headlights are down the middle between two houses as opposed to right through someone's front door is important to us.
Greg, I think I saw somebody type a question that went by about the 40-foot. I don't know if you can see it better than us. I think we saw somebody type the question.
What size homes are you planning for the 40-foot lots and the 65-foot lots?
Okay, yeah, it went up and went away. I didn't see it fully. So those are, we're looking at basically for the whole neighborhood. And John could correct me. I think what we say around 2,700 square foot minimum for the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that was kind of our average home size, I would say, and probably our entry level home size, because we want the homes to be comfortable, and most of the homes are going to probably be 4 bedrooms in most configurations, or there'll be 3 in an office. But we feel that about 2,700 square foot is probably what we need to achieve that. But certainly with some of the 65-foot wide lots or even the 40-foot wide lots, I mean, you could get up to 3,000. We don't anticipate currently that we're going to be offering homes much over 3,000 square foot. But a lot of that is still subject to any changements or movements in the site plan at this point. But at this point, that would be our intention, is to start out around 2,700 square foot and probably max out somewhere right around 3,000.
Thanks, John. We have another question about access. Let me go back to this slide right here. Could this road extend to Liberty Pike for a second connection? The problem with this area here is that the grade change down to Liberty Pike is too steep for a road. We believe that we can accommodate a pedestrian path, but from this point back to Liberty Pike would be too steep for emergency fire vehicles in that area.
I have another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Statement. The numbers that you're giving us as far as the traffic impact are, on your part, basically considered minimal. However, there are over 500, almost 600 homes going in down the street. So your traffic study is not going to take that number into account. So adding your traffic on top of that traffic is going to make a much more impact than what you're typically saying yours alone is going to make.
Well, the traffic study that's submitted to the city of Franklin does have to take into account those developments that are approved and their traffic studies that were prepared for their development. So that is being analyzed by the city engineering department. The city engineering department, though, they do review the traffic studies. They require John and Randy to pay for a third-party traffic engineer consultant to review that traffic study. So you have the city's traffic engineer, you have a third-party traffic engineer, and you have the engineer that prepares the report. So they're going to be giving us the guidance on what road improvements may need to be done to accommodate this development proposal.
Okay. Because I mean, that road, Clovercroft and Oxford Glen are both extremely heavily traveled roads. And that was the argument before, that Clovercroft is not a road that can handle a whole lot of traffic. And so that impact on that general area is going to be significant,
And I think
in my perspective.
And that's a good point. I think, as Greg mentioned, was really a huge factor that I think will alleviate a lot of things once 96 gets done. As the young lady mentioned about Murfreesboro traffic coming through, that's going to, with Carruthers being pretty much done through all the way up to 96. And with the 96 corridor getting finished up in the next year or so, that will alleviate some of that, as well as these 600 our neighborhoods come up along as well.
Okay, can I ask you a question? How often do you travel 96 East?
I travel a lot. I got, we're about to, we got Trinity. I built a lot of products off of Trinity. I've lived in Murfreesboro I graduated from MTSU. I lived in
Okay.
Murfreesboro from 2008 through, but my office has always been in Wilson County. So I know
Okay.
96 and 840 like the back of my hand. So
Okay, I
I'm
live
very
off
familiar with it.
96
Okay,
East. I'm living with this construction, okay?
correct.
Now, you can't get out onto 96 now, and there is no way that people are following the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Mhm.
So if you're talking about people taking 96 instead of Clovercroft, I don't think that's going to happen because 96 is going to be very difficult to get in, on, and off of. And in the morning, especially when there's traffic coming from Murfreesboro and out here, College Grove and those areas that are developed, I can wait and count 30 cars to get out and make a right-hand turn onto 96. I can't tell you how many times I have to wait long periods of time to make a left out onto 96. So using 96 being finished and good access is not necessarily going to be the case.
Okay. All right. Well, I think differently. There are going to be a little bit more stop lights. I don't know if you've seen that whole design of 96, but again, you live there. I'm not going to say you're wrong or I'm right or wrong. I think a lot of people do cut through coming from, let's just say, the east side of Williamson County.
Randy,
through this corridor.
Alderman Berger would like to make a comment as well to that. Alderman Berger?
Make sure she unmute.
Yep, I'm sorry. I had to
Okay.
get back to my mic. Sorry, guys. We also need to remember, one second here. We also need to remember here that McEwen Drive will be started at the very earliest at the end of 2003, January, February 2024. And your development, of course, will go through the process for this year. Then next year, you'll be doing your site work. So you're probably not going to build for 2 to 3 years, right? And then you can answer that in a minute, but you might want to speak to when you think the site work would be done when you'd start building, about when you might have the first occupant see for your house. But with that said, McEwen will get started. Once now, McEwen, granted, we're talking about a 3-year project here, at least, probably a 3-year project. But once we have McEwen done, that will be a 4-lane divided road with a 12-foot multimodal path on the south side of McEwen, on the far right lane that exists today that goes down to Wilson Pike. So once that is complete, anyone coming from the east, coming into town, they're not going to very easily choose to come up Clovercroft at all anymore. It's going to be just a quick, easy decision to come down McEwen, a straight shot into the Cool Springs area, into the interstate. With that said, there will be lights at Market in 96, and anyone coming in from that area too will have a straight shot down with 4-lane down 96. So, we have to take those into consideration as well. All those will come into play. And then we are going to be having conversations, of course, with the county, because the county and city own portions of Clovercroft. And I am begging our mayors, both mayors, a city mayor and county mayor, to have serious conversations. We need some leadership here. We have to have some serious leadership to decide how we're going to tackle Clovercroft, because the city's not going to do it all. County certainly isn't going to do it all, and we can't because we own different portions of Clovercroft. think it's very important to understand that Clovercroft needs to be addressed sooner than later. And we are going to be having those conversations very, very soon. We've already had some of them, but it is certainly time to have those conversations because that is going to be a much needed road. And we need to start looking at that. But I wanted to bring that point up about McEwen. Thank you.
Thank you. We had another question here from Mr. Sanders. Will cars be allowed to park on Oxford Glen in the bike lane? That can make this a very narrow road when there's parking on street. We're not proposing any changes to Oxford Glen Drive in regards to the parking or the bike lanes at this point.
Greg, I might also jump in here on that one
Yeah.
too. The portion of Oxford Glen from the eastern side where you're proposing this development on the eastern side, coming in from Clovercroft to Dunrobin, we can easily not allow any parking in that area on that side of the road. The other side of the road where there's homes, we don't want to impede people's ability to do that, especially at lower traffic times and things of that nature, Sunday afternoons, things of that nature. But of course, they do have their back entrance garages and their alleyways and other access points as well. But I think that, when you're talking to engineering, talk to them about no parking on that eastern side from Clovercroft to Dunrobin.
Okay, we can certainly do that. Any other comments or questions? If I've missed you on the chat and you need an answer to your question, please let me know. I think I've covered everyone, but I don't want to miss anything. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, the next step for us is to proceed forward to the Planning Commission meeting join the Planning Commission meeting on October the 27th. And we're happy to take any questions that you may have via email. If there's something that you need an answer to later on in the week that you just thought about, let me know. Anyways, we appreciate you attending and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.